Welcome to Mo's Market Pulse. I'm your host, Sara Mokaram, founder of Mo Digital Solutions, where we help businesses scale and thrive. This is a podcast where we sit down with industry leaders to dive into their businesses, uncover market insights, explore growth strategies, and discuss the challenges they face, plus see where 2025 is heading. Today, I'm thrilled to have James Hotson, co-founder and chief growth officer at Katara, join us. Katara is an AI agent-powered workflow automation platform targeted at DevX teams. So, James, before we get into the deeper topics, I'd love for our audience to get to know you a bit better. Can you tell us just a little bit about you and your journey?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on the podcast. I initially grew up in Seattle and then moved to Los Angeles about 2 decades ago and joined an AI marketing company called Retention Science. Was one of their founding employees. It was the two co-founders, a data scientist and myself. And we spent 10 years building an AI marketing platform that we eventually sold to Constant Contact. And what we do is we just predict lifetime value. We predict what products or what offer you want as a customer, and we'd automate that for about 500 different brands. So that was really exciting. And then I realized, customer service and customer support was really interesting. So I got into building AI agents for customer support. And we were able to start to resolve about 40% of customer inquiries. And this was 2 or 3 years ago before a lot of the LLMs came out. And now that we have reasoning and access to these LLMs, we can actually start to solve up to 85% of some of these customer service, inquiries and those kinds of things. So I've spent my entire career focused on artificial intelligence, and it's just now starting to get really, really exciting because we're starting to see some really amazing results with it.
I was going to say you're a little bit of head of the game then.
Yeah, for a little while, it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors of being in it since 2012.
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of collaborative filtering in the early days, and there was a lot of manual work, and now it's starting to really become autonomous, and we're starting to see some of these agents working together, which is really exciting.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about your current company and what led you to Katara?
The current platform is a developer enablement platform, and so we really see kind of a big need. I think development in general is about a $300 billion industry, and I really believe it's going to be over $1 trillion in the next few years because everyone's starting to become a developer, and we're seeing more and more development come through. Things like Anthropic with Sonnet, that's really good at producing code. Everyone can produce code now. These co-pilots that exist, whether it's Cursor or you're using the IDE you like. You don't have to have a computer science degree. You don't have to have that like 10 years of knowledge of learning how to code and starting with C+. You can just start to prompt it. And so everyone's becoming a developer. So what I really like about Katara is we're providing the infrastructure and the tooling to help you be a great developer. And that really attracted me to the company is we are model agnostic, which is, great because it gives us flexibility. 2 or 3 weeks ago, DeepSeek came out and everybody wanted to try that model, so we could plug that into the Katara platform. And we're not just a wrapper on top of OpenAI like a lot of the other tools. We're providing the infrastructure and the support that you actually need to build, manage, and maintain AI agents really nicely. And then you can start to develop these amazing agentic workflows.
Great. So, as we've touched on a little bit, AI automation is rapidly evolving space right now. So, with all this innovation happening, what shifts or market trends are exciting you the most?
I think the market trend that I'm seeing is a shift towards better user experience, better customer support, because that's where brands start to really stand out. You can, in just a few prompts now, clone a really great tool. And so your standard SaaS software can be redeveloped, and the people that really understand the problems, the end user, and really can solve those problems start to have a better product. And so customer support, customer experience becomes your ways to stand out, as well as starting to build your community or your network also stand to, be really important because every day people can create a new agent that is just as good as what exists. So you have to stand out in other ways now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And even with all of these AI advancements, some pain points persist. What's the biggest challenge you think still needs solving?
There's a ton of them. I think one big one is, it's maintaining the infrastructure and maintaining the compute, and just getting everything to constantly go, right? basically anyone can write a Python script right now and have it run. And then you can use a tool like a Heroku or maybe a cloud tool to host it and have it run daily or weekly or monthly or hourly if you want. But we haven't really bridged that gap yet from a consumer standpoint of, hey, I can create this agent and it can continuously run in the background and continuously go. You still have to have, maybe your cheat sheet on how to run your commands in terminal to make sure that your scripts are running and monitor it. So there's a lot of room for better analytics, better visibility for what your agents are doing. And I think that, opens up a lot of opportunity for different companies.
For sure. And can you share what the competitive landscape for you looks like?
Well, it's changing every single day. I think the exciting news, I'm always trying and testing out the new tools. We tried out uh, proxy convergence, which is an AI type operator tool similar to OpenAI's operator. They operator, or I guess OpenAI just launched, their $20,000 a month version, which is interesting. I haven't tried that one yet. But it's just constantly evolving. And what I kind of love about it is you never know where the next great tool is going to come from. It could be, from some teenager just writing code in their, parents' house, or it could be, the next big Microsoft tool that comes out, like what I've been loving a lot lately has been Notebook ML, and where you can just drop a couple links and you can start to prompt it based on, whatever links or whatever data you put into it, which is a Google product.
It's great. So, of course, scaling a company, especially in this space with so many competitors and new people coming out, I want to switch a little bit about to growth. For an emerging company, visibility is key. What's working best for you to getting Katara in front of the right audience?
So we have kind of two product vision goals. Number one, and the first goal is to have a system that's good enough for really immature, really small clients that they can come on board, they can self-serve, they can log in, they can create the agents themselves. And ideally, it's 100% self-serve with no friction. We don't have to talk to them, no direct access, and they can actually kind of use our tool to onboard themselves. So that's fun. And I think there's some network effects that we can build into that where if, you know, I'm having success with the Katara tool, I'm likely to go tell 10 of my friends about that. And I think that level of usability we're still striving for. And so that's one method. The second method is our, outbound method, which is basically our second pillar for our vision, which is how do we start to build a platform that works for the Fortune 500 companies or the Swiss banks, where we can build a tool where they can plug in whatever component or whatever piece of our AI agents or our agentic workflows they like, and we can serve them. And so we have outbound strategies right now that we're implementing where we're reaching out to most of the time chief operating officers because they are the ones who oversee the entire business and they can really understand the value that automation can bring. And we're just outbounding, communicating, and showing them the results that we're having with our existing client base. I think it's a lot of proof. The proof components are completely, the foundation for our product. Without a great product, nothing else really matters. And then kind of the third pillar that I've been working on has just been the conference circuit. People have been doing a lot of business in person when they can look you in the eye and they can shake your hand. There's a lot of trust that you immediately get, and they're excited to try your tool. So I was just at a conference 2 weeks ago, probably had 2 dozen really good conversations where people are now going to start to try out our tool, or they're in different stages of evaluating us, which I think is really great. And it's a good investment for 2 or 3 days of being on the road.
Yeah, it's nice to have that personal connection and not only for you to get to know your prospects and potential clients, but for them to really get to know you and the company better.
Yep.
So, startups often have to juggle immediate wins with long term goals. How do you prioritize?
I think of it as a pie chart, really, and I picked this up. The COO of Retention Science, name's Derek Kwan, gave me a really good visual on this. It's like you should allocate so much energy to the customer requests that are needed right this second, your overall product vision that you need to be really stubborn on, and then the rest can kind of be filled in by different market dynamics. And so I'd say we probably allocate about 25% of our resources to like the immediate needs of the customer and those customer requests. Hey, I want this integration, or I want this feature or this function. That's probably 25% of our development resources. Probably 30 to 40% is based on like our actual long-term vision. Hey, where do we think the market's going to go in the next long term for us is kind of 18 months. What's the next 18 months look like and where do we need to be by then? And then the rest are all the little sprints that we need to fill in the gaps with on how do we get from where the product is today to where we want it in 90 days based on either contracts that have been signed that we need to, build things for, or features and functionalities where we're placing a bet on, hey, we think people would like to use it, in this particular way. So that's kind of how we break down, you know, long-term vision versus short-term needs, and it is a juggling act. And sometimes, you have multiple plates that are spinning, and you got to keep them all going.
Yeah. And how do you prioritize or work through those features or enhancements that, say, your internal team and development team or you want to move forwards and see as a positive for your future versus incoming client requests and enhancements to the product?
So if anyone has a better version than this, I would love to try out their method. I can tell you what we're doing today. We keep a running sheet, and then with each new inquiry we have, that gets added to the list, and then we score each one in each category. The score of 0 to 10, how tough is this item to build? Score of 0 to 10, how much revenue impact could this potentially have? 0 to 10, how much of a reduction of churn or how much like retention would this product have, or how much customer service or how much marketing? So we scale it. We score it in all those categories, and then we prioritize the features that are going to have the most impact with the least amount of build that we can knock out the quickest. And so that method's worked, but right now I have a laundry list of 100 things, and the top 10 of p zeros that we want to build yesterday. uh,
Right.
and we're always placing bets on what's going to be most impactful for the customer, what's going to be most impactful for revenue, what's going to be most impactful for customer service.
Well, sounds like a good approach for now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, building and scaling a startup isn't always smooth. So, I want to switch now to talk about some of the challenges you faced. What have been the biggest challenges in scaling Katara?
I think a lot of startup challenges come down to people. And as you grow, the people that wanted to join you early, or the ones that were willing to join early, might not necessarily have the skills that you need a year from now, or even 6 months from now. And so that can be challenging because they were the right people for that period of time or that situation, and now they're no longer able to perform or deliver the results that you need. And so constantly trying to up level the team, constantly trying to get the right people on the boat, constantly trying to get them in the right seats is definitely a challenge. And Katara, we have 2 people in Los Angeles, potentially a third that would be more Southern California joining us. And then, we're spread out. We are in Poland, we're in Barcelona, we're in New York. And so being multi time zone is also another challenge. Being completely remote, you miss some of that water cooler talk as well. So, there's advantages, but I think one major challenge is like when you have very simple things like just going through the UI and trying to fix a couple bugs. That's a pretty easy task when you put everybody in a room with a whiteboard, and you spent it's tough. Maybe it's a 2-hour exercise and it's not the most painless exercise, but you can get it done in 2 hours. Versus when you're working across time zones and over Slack, that might be 2 or 3 days of back and forth because there's so much start and stop. So, it's you're always under resourced, and you're always trying to spread yourself too thin, and you're always trying to focus on the right things and trying not to get pulled at the shiny new exciting thing.
Yeah, for sure. And so that leads me just to my next question about how you guys are so spread out. How do you navigate that and making sure that you have that team feel, even though you are on different time zones, different locations, without being able to be there in person together and still have those ideas flowing and progress move forward?
And there's always a rhythm, and that rhythm also does kind of cycle as well, where sometimes you need more, or sometimes you need less meetings. We have our standard cadence of meetings throughout the week where it's Zoom, and most of them have a really, particular focus and an agenda that we go through so we stay on track. And then others throughout the week, like I really love a Friday afternoon kind of join if you want type office hours meeting where there's no agenda, bring whatever thing you want to talk about, whether it's industry related or business related, and we'll chat about it. I think those can be really helpful. And so that combination of like the accountability of I know every single morning I got to check in and do a stand up with the team, and then the open-endedness of hey, this is more casual, let's talk about something that might be top of mind or interesting, helps us really stay in sync. And I think also making the effort to get in person. We did an offsite, I think it was in November now, so it seems fairly recent, but we did an offsite about 3 months ago, and that was really helpful. The whole team together, same place, eating meals together, spending the full day together. And it doesn't take much to do that, and it can be pretty low bar, like low pressure.
Yeah.
Just show up, and we'll have some good conversations, and we'll continue working together. And then I always try to meet my colleagues at conferences if they attend, spend time with them as well. So just got back from a conference, was able to meet one of our teammates who's based in Poland, who I hadn't seen in person yet, and
Wow.
and it was great to spend some time with him in person, have a coffee, sit and just chat, which was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, going back to the earlier topic of AI, of course, in recent months, there's a lot of hype around it. And so, what would you say is something about AI that people tend to get wrong about it?
There's a lot, but I'll lead with one thing that always surprised me, which is I don't think most people have grasped how much energy AI is really consuming when you're using it. And I heard the kind of data point that if you were to generate an image with something like I've been using Gronk for images a lot lately, but I also like the Envision product as well for image generation. To generate that one image with one prompt, that's the equivalent energy use of charging your iPhone from 0 to 100% battery.
Wow.
And that's really stuck with me on like, wow, it's so much compute and processing is going into that one thing. And so I think, at the $20 a month spend level of OpenAI, you're getting a tremendous amount of value and a tremendous amount of inference and a tremendous amount of just compute and energy for that $20. If you were to do the exact same set of prompts through the, platform.openai with your API key and code it yourself, you wouldn't get as far. And I don't think people really are kind of connecting the dots on that component yet. So that's one thing about the industry is I think we're gonna face here. I don't know if it's gonna be in 2 years or 3 years where it's like, is it actually cheaper to have an AI do it or have a human do it, depending on the level of task that you and reasoning that you need and the complexity of the task.
Hmm. That's really interesting. I had no idea about that. And that's a great comparison to give everyone an idea of how much energy that really is. So, if you could snap your fingers and solve one major frustration in your business, what would it be?
Well, endless flow of new potential customers would be really nice. I mean, from the go-to-market side, I think we're always competing for awareness and attention and trying to find the right spot. So, I think solving that, I think we've cracked it, and I'm really excited about some of the things we're doing, but we can always be doing better. But always solving that go-to-market motion, finding, the perfect flow of meeting the customer when they have the actual pain that you're trying to solve for, showing them a great solution to that, and then having like a beautiful, seamless onboarding aspect. That's what I'm trying to do with the company right now.
Mhm. And so, going with that topic, what does success look like for Katara in the next 12 or, like you mentioned, 18 months?
But we just released our newest iteration of the product. And so, the new platform is available, which is great. And I think we're really excited about the some of the things on the roadmap where we'll go from basically, let's call it a dozen AI agents and a couple of really great use cases to I think we'll have more of a platform that will be a lot of tools for developers where they can come in and we can solve every single step of the developer journey. If you think about development, it's not just writing code and it's not just writing technical documentation. It's just not answering questions for other developers. There's QA for the things you built. There's setting up staging. There's getting it into production. There's iterating. There's taking customer feedback. Like I think it would be a really great platform if we could go from really someone writing a prompt to literally the code active in production, and we've gone through every single step of the development process, and some person can, one click approve, that piece of code being production ready and, being battle tested and all the bugs being solved automatically. Like that's the high level vision for the platform right now. And I think we can get something very close that solves a lot of the pains along the way, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Tracking the right metrics is also crucial, of course. What key metrics do you focus on to measure success?
Right now, we're looking at the number of tokens because these LLMs use tokens, right? And so a token is basically the amount of words you're putting in, input tokens, output tokens, basic usage. It's like that's one of our key metrics that we're looking at daily. From the sales side, we're always looking at the number of customers, the average revenue per customer, what's the net promoter score of the product, what's churn like, all those things are really important to building a durable business. And I think the more you can be honest about the reporting on those numbers, the better it forces you to build a better product. Your net promoter score is a little bit low, or you're getting the same feedback, you're not solving it, or your churn's a little too high. It forces you to go back to the drawing board and be like, all right, where can we really build a great product that people are excited about, that's sticky and all those things?
So, before we wrap up, I always like to ask, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs looking to build a tech solution?
I think build less. I think that is the number one thing I see is people so excited about their product or so excited about the idea. They might be heads down for 3 months, 6 months, or a year building this thing. And then they release it to the world and it's crickets. It's like pick it as quickly as you can, get your idea tested and get some feedback on it and see if people are willing to even pay for this product, because in your head it might be this amazing solution that's groundbreaking, but to the end customer might just be another vitamin that's not that necessary. So I think build less in the terms of like go test your idea, go put up a landing page, drive a few marketing dollars to it, see if someone will sign up, see if someone wants it before you hire 3 engineers and onboard a team and try to build this product that maybe nobody wants. Because I see way too many companies going out and building things that just aren't needed or aren't as, valuable as I think they are.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, for those who want to learn more about Katara or connect with you, where's the best place?
Our Twitter has been pretty amazing for developing our community. The Twitter Katara at Katara AI is great. You can also go to our website katara.ai. Those are the two main places to check us out. We also have a Discord channel that if anyone wants to join, you can go in and you can actually test it. We use our own product, so you can type in anything about Katara and it will give you an answer on what we do and who we are and specifics about the product, which I think is pretty cool.
That is cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Mo's Market Pulse. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, and join us again to hear more insights from leaders coming up on future episodes. Thanks so much for joining us today, James.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. Let me pause this.